M3.
Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast,
M3.
the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners
M3.
to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4,
M3.
Hey everybody, this is Sean B. Bradley, President of Dealer City, the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Group. I'm at actually McGrath City Honda in Chicago. Say hello, everybody. Hello. All right, and we're here with Cody Carter. Cody, tell everybody where you're being interviewed from. Where are you at right now in the country?
So I'm here, Orange County, California, Tustin, the city of Tustin. Normally it's nice and sunny here in California, but we actually have some rain, so it's a little bit different today for us.
All right. Now, my first question is, how many units do you have out for this month right now?
So as of this morning, I'm at 114 and a half. So
114 cars. Now, okay. The first thing that most people say is bullshit, right? So tell us, how the hell did you sell 114 cars in December of 2022? Do you have like an army of assistants?
Yeah, her name is Hannah. So I have one.
One. Yeah. And she's a relative of yours, correct?
Yeah, so she's my sister-in-law. We've been working together, I think now 3 years together. She started in service BDC and then I recruited her over.
All right, awesome. So tell us your schedule. Like, how many days a week do you work and what are your hours like?
So the schedule has only gotten better, right? As time goes on, I've worked the bell to bell for years, but now as things have gone on, I now work. I probably get in about 7:30 or 8 in the morning, and I'm out of here by 2 o'clock, and I'm working 5 days a week. Of course, there's still calls and stuff that go on in the afternoon when I'm not here, but 8 to 2 is not a bad schedule anymore.
So wait a minute. So you work 8 to 2, and you just have 114 cars out on the showroom floor. Question for you: one of the biggest challenges that dealerships have nationally is inventory. Are you guys special? Do you have a plentiful of inventory? Inventory is not an issue, or do you have the same fucking problems we all do and have inventory shortage?
So this year has been extremely difficult for Toyota. Probably the worst inventory we've had. This last month, we have had more cars than normal. We were, hovering around 80 cars in stock. That's up from the 14 that we've been rolling average for, 8 months. So we do have a little bit of cars, but it's down from the 1,500 that we were used to pre-pandemic. Okay,
but still, so you had 80 cars. How the hell do you sell 114 cars if you only have 80 on the ground?
So it's a combination of both, right? It's a combination of selling what's in stock. Let's worry about what's in stock today, but at the same time, we're pre-selling a lot of inventory. Because again, inventory is really tough. So we have to figure out, what's coming, what do they want, and how close can we get to that? Because we're not always going to hit it, right, in this pandemic. But pre-selling has been huge.
Okay, so we're going to open up the questions a little bit, but I'm going to go through this agenda real quick right here. So write down your questions, guys, if you guys have them, so we don't forget. So Cody, can you give us like a model understanding? How did you get to selling this many cars? I share with the team here that you have a website. So can you do me a favor? Can you share your screen and take us to your website? This is crazy shit. Crazy. I've been doing this for 23 years. Cool. I've never seen this in my life.
So you can see the site, my page now. Is that correct?
Yeah. I see the dashboard. Cool. I don't see the website. I see the...
Yes. So this, let me see. How do I move this out of the way?
You go to Retract Autos on the front end.
So I know we've changed over time, right? We've had some compliance things with Toyota. The biggest thing is I became too successful with having my own page, and Toyota has now made me move. So this is the newest layout. It actually works. Yeah. So they told me, no dealer can have 2 websites, right? So now the newest version is a subdomain. Retract Auto directs to this page, but you'll see here it's built on Roadster now, which allows customers to fully, buy online. So they're now coming in, seeing the inventory. So today we're showing 45 cars in stock, and they're able to build their own deal. I'm going to click in here real quick. So you'll see some of the cars are discounted, right? Because we do have some inventory finally. But they'll be able to click in, see what the discounts are. One thing that's unique to my site versus like if you went into the normal Toyota site, the pricing could be totally different. It could be more, it could be less. But we also have the banks that nobody else has, right? So even my dealer doesn't use the same leasing companies that we use.
Pause. So again, what I was telling people in the previous class, Cody's expertise, his superpower is leasing. Like he's better than F&I directors that I've seen and here. Like usually when I was talking to Lewis about this, you guys, if you guys do lease, you're probably going to use Honda Financial. You know, the manufacturer, most dealers think they're the best ones. Cody, can you talk about like specifically how your other banks actually lease better than Toyota Credit?
Yeah, so there's a large company called Cula. They set up all these credit union leases throughout the country, and they're also doing the research. So they're pulling Toyota's data. They're pulling every other leasing company's data to see where they could beat at them. So like Toyota comes out with a new program at the first of the month. So does Ally and US Bank. The credit unions programs change mid-month. That way they can be more aggressive than everybody else. And we see them flex a lot easier. Like for example, on this Camry, you'll see like they're winning right now based on credit union rate. But earlier in the month, they weren't winning, right? And so they were able to adapt to make it so that they're winning. Right now, they're winning by about $20 a month. So any dealer that's being competitive with us that, you know, if they sell at the same price as us, we're still $20 a month cheaper, right? And so that gives us a competitive edge over the next store.
So to be specific, so again, let's go through this. What he's able to do as a salesperson, not even the dealership, he's able to show Toyota payments cheaper than the manufacturer and cheaper than any other Toyota dealership in his region, which is just mind-blowing. Now, if I'm understanding, you don't have to compromise your grosses. You could still like charge list or over list on the deal, but because the banks are using the way that they set their money factors and residuals, you're able to still maintain gross or even make more gross, but have a lower payment. Is that true or false?
Yeah, definitely. So like if you look at it like during the pandemic, right, pricing was crazy. We were selling Tacomas for, you know, $4,000 over MSRP, and there's 76 dealers within our region, right? So there's a lot of competition. There's only one or two stores that were selling at MSRP. But even if you were to find a dealer that had a Tacoma in stock that would sell it to you at MSRP, my payment was still $50 a month cheaper, and we were $4,000 over MSRP.
Do you guys hear what this guy's saying? How much did you invest on your website in the beginning in total as of today?
I'm probably 17,000 personal dollars into the website. And that was in development. And that's not advertising or anything. That's just development itself. And then Roadster came in and went alongside us and have made some changes along the way.
But your website, your initial investment was $10,000.
So the initial investment was $10,000 when I launched Retrack originally. And then we put out that subdomain for a while in Arizona, and then we ran some broker back-end stuff as well.
How much money can you estimate, honestly, that you've made off of your website legitimately that you would never had before if it wasn't solely for your website?
Yeah, this year alone, it's going to be $1 million, you know, so it's, you know, and it's been going for 3 years. So like, I mean, think about that. To invest X amount of dollars to be able to return that much. There's a lot of websites out there. Like my daughter has T Got Your Keys. There's website platforms that are called like Build a Brand, which are really cool. He didn't do that. What he did was he had something custom created. Can you kind of tell the story? And then we're going to open up the questions. Show them your spreadsheets and explain to them. This was a leasing guy, you know, a leasing expert. And what he used to do was create these freaking spreadsheets. And then everybody like crack was asking for him. He just got fucking tired of handing out spreadsheets. So tell the story from your mouth, brother. Yeah. So originally, you're trying to grow your online presence, right? So I was on a bunch of different online forums. And I originally wasn't compliant with Toyota, where we were posting pricing, you know, below dealer costs, which is not allowed at this point. But they basically struck us for that and said we were not allowed to do that. So the next step up was, okay, I'm going to create a Google Doc, right? Google spreadsheet. And then we kind of made it this fun thing like, oh, well, where's the link, right? You know, you got to request the link, and the link changes every 2 months. So if people would call you or text you like, I have no idea what I'm looking for, but everyone tells me I need to ask you for the link, whatever that means.
Stop sharing your screen, Cody, too.
Okay. Yeah. So, you know, we started sharing this link for about 2 years, but it started out as a few cars, and then it became every single car, you know, model, make that we do. It just became super chaotic, right? And it was like, well, and I'm getting thousands of text messages every 2 months about what's the new link, because people are tracking this pricing. So eventually I was like, okay, I want to build a website. And I made a big list of everything I wanted to do, and everything I saw out there didn't do what I wanted it to do. Right. So I came up with an idea, and I'm like, well, I have no idea who will build this for me. So one of my customers actually came through. He purchased a Highlander, and I noticed he was a web developer. And so I started telling him the idea. I was like, yeah, we definitely could build it. And then it was, at the time he was like, well, what do you think this costs? Right. Like, cause obviously it's a lot of work. And I was like, well, if I could do it for less than 20 grand, I'm in. Right. If you could build this site for less than 20 grand, I'll do it. And he's like, well, okay, cool. Cause it's only going to cost 10. And I'm like, perfect. So that was the launch of it originally. And from there, it's just taken off. Obviously, it became too successful. Even without paid advertising, we were ranking above a lot of Toyota stores just based on traffic. Too many Toyota dealers complained about how we were doing it, even though we were compliant where we weren't forward-facing pricing without logging in. It was just too much. And I made the comment about build a brand with Toyota. I was like, well, there's a lot of salespeople that have websites that, personal websites, they're owned by them. And they said, well, unfortunately, you're just too successful, right? So that doesn't fly with us. So then that was the change about a year ago.
Actually, I do have one more question before I open it up, because this is the question that everybody should ask. How do you go from being a regular car person, whether you're selling 30, 40 cars, whatever, how did you make that jump to 154 cars in a month? Like, what's that single freaking thing that you did to go from regular human being mortal to doing some crazy shit that nobody else has ever done before?
Well, it's a lot of process, right? It's in your head. You got to understand that there's no limit to things, right? I worked for a small store for 4.5 years in Arizona. I think I did the best I ever did was 28, right? And that was considered amazing, right? And that was the norm. Eventually I got fired, half the staff did, and I moved to California, and there was a guy that was selling 40 cars, and I was like, well, 40 cars I got to beat him, right? And that was the chase. And there was a couple times I hit 60. And so in my head, it was always 60, right? If you could sell 60 this month, you'll be successful. And then 60 with the processes that are put in place, became easy. Now, in reality, if I sell 60, it's a failure. I shouldn't even show up, right? So it's a lot of it is systems driven. We tell every customer to go to the website. For some of the older school type people who are like, oh, I want to come and negotiate. I'm like, no. We do everything online, and it's for your benefit, right? When you get here, the deal is done. You're in and out in 30 minutes, and once they go through the process, they realize, oh, I'm never going to do it the old way again. And you earn them forever.
I love it. Okay. Can you stand up and just say your name and ask the question?
Milton Stewart. And my question was, with the inventory shortage, how many cars do you have physically delivered versus deposit or income?
So the question,
I heard it. So I don't count anything unless it's delivered, right? So 114 and a half is what was delivered as of this morning. Yeah. So we don't, we don't count deposits. They're not real until they're delivered.
Guys, let me put this in perspective real quick. There's 16,500 franchise dealerships. The average dealership sells less than 90 cars. The average dealership. This salesperson with one assistant has, as of today, 114 and a half units delivered. That shit is crazy. Okay.
So, with 114 units delivered, is that the inventory from just one store, or are you affiliated with multiple stores?
So where are you getting your
I work for one Toyota store. We're a top 5 dealer in the country.
That's impressive.
So I have a question built on that. How do you handle if a vehicle's not in stock? I mean, like, out of 114 customers, I doubt that all the exact vehicles they started on, were what they ended up on. So what is percentage of its magic and you actually have or can get what they're looking for versus direct orders versus flipping them into an in-stock one? What would you say your percentages are in those 3 categories?
It's, maybe 20% of the cars are in stock, right? It's very low. We tell a lot of guests like, hey, if I want to come in and look at cars, I'm like, well, we don't really have much to look at. This is the new world we live in where we're going to get you a car prior to. Also, the unique thing is Toyota does not allow any custom orders, right? So you got to let these customers know that they need to be flexible. And this is what's coming. If what's in this allocation doesn't work for you, let's check back in 2 weeks because Toyota allocates new cars every 2 weeks. These customers have become really smart. So they'll text you every other Wednesday. Well, it is this in your allocation. I'm like, okay, well, let's check after 12 because that's the latest allocation. And then they're fighting over these cars. In addition to that, a lot of the dealers have gotten together for allocated trades. So I know a lot of guys, right, in my position. So I can text most stores and say, hey, you have this. Are you willing to trade it? And we'll work it out. there's also now a master list that someone had come up with every guy who's willing to dealer trade from every state for every Toyota dealer. So we can have their numbers.
All right. Other than 114, how many new, how many used?
114 new. So that's all new cars. Yeah.
He's a beast. He's a leasing expert. So again, it's very difficult to lease used cars. Okay. Now, what about, let's give us mortals, right? Me included here, some help. Because what I look at, and no disrespect, guys, I got mad respect for this organization. You guys have a lot of stores. But when you hear shit like this, it's like, stop. Like when you selling 15 cars and you're upset that you don't have inventory, this dude is going through the same shit that you are. What are some of the things that you can do? Like, do you work data money, equity money? So I heard you say that was brilliant, that you created a master list. That's smart. But besides a master list and doing new car locates, like, how are you trying to find vehicles or get inventory for your customers?
So we're not, because again, I do mostly new car, right? So we're not pulling pre-owned cars to just give to these customers, right? But we do use auto alert, right? And I was, during the pandemic, especially with how high trades were worth, it was crazy. I was sending out 3,000 emails a week on my mailers I would set up. Hey, we want to buy your car. The lease programs will help you get the same or lower payment. And those customers that you were getting the reply, every deal was a 10-pounder, every $10,000 deal, every single one of them. And it was good for the customer because, hey, inventory sucks. They call around, the pricing sucks. But for us, we're able to get them the same payment, maybe even less. And we get their trade for the used car department, and, and I make $1. So, it worked out for everybody, but auto alert was very successful.
So that's data mining, equity mining, using that. You guys can use that directly through VIN Solutions. You don't need an auto alert. You guys use that? You have auto alert. Okay, perfect. You don't necessarily need to have it. You could use VIN, but I think that's a great idea. Questions, guys. Let's take advantage. We got another half an hour with him.
Right, yeah.
Name, just stand up and name and question. Whoever. Again, name and question.
Access to those, Juan Cruz.
Juan Cruz.
Like he was saying that he got access to different banks. This is the first time that I see this. I do lease in my house.
Mm-hmm.
My wife and my car, their leases. He claims no. He was saying that there's different banks that
yes.
give us better. Because right now, this is one of the things that we used to do back in the day.
Yes.
Okay, this is your payment on a purchase. This is your payment on a lease. But right now, it's just like this.
Yes.
Like here, right? So we don't do leasing pretty much, and that'll be an advantage for us. Yeah.
So you have? Is it a statement or question? Because I hear what you're saying, but is there a question or is there a statement there?
Yeah, no, I'm just asking, how can they get a hold of those banks?
Okay, that's the question. So here, I'm gonna start this, and I'm gonna let him tag in. Here's the reality. For whatever reason, most of the country doesn't have a high lease penetration, even before the pandemic. It's usually the Northeast and California are the highest lease penetrations in the country. So the first thing I'm going to say to you is this, and I know what Cody's going to say, and I want your opinion on this. You have to believe in leasing, because I know what people are going to say. Oh, people around here don't lease. Bullshit. That is you. You don't present the lease. You don't present the value in lease. That's where they're not leasing. Because where I grew up selling cars, and I was a 30-car person at a Lincoln Mercury Mazda dealership, every pencil included a finance and a lease pencil with every single one. It's a numbers game. The more people you present a lease to, the more people that are gonna accept the lease. But yeah, yes, absolutely. Cody, what says you, the leasing expert?
Well, I think even when I was in Arizona, right? Arizona leasing is not huge, right? But our dealer decided that we were going to do it on every single one. We're going to present it. And, we played some games with it, right? We're presenting $700 payments on trucks. And, there's that $500 payment showing on the page. And they're like, well, what's that? Well, that's the lease option. Let me explain to you why this is just crazy and why does it make sense, right? And from there, if you know what you're talking about, if, it even helps if you lease, because you're like, hey, I lease all my cars. Why wouldn't you? This is why. You got to understand why they make sense, right? In regards to the third.
I want to answer Juan's question, but I want to clear this up. Let me finish Juan's question. There's a lot of people here, brother. Let's everybody get here. Yeah, we're going to so everybody gets right here. So Juan, the question is, how do you find these banks? The first thing that I'm going to say to you before you start going to other banks is that you as the salesperson and or the dealership needs to be committed that you're going to do leasing. Because if you go into leasing half-assed, then it's a waste of time bothering the banks and shit like that. The second thing is that the way that he did it, I actually interviewed, what's the leasing guy's name that we interviewed? Your guy?
Mason. Yeah, Mason.
Yes. We interviewed Mason on the podcast about a year ago. And what happened is that he noticed that he wasn't able to get certain factors in there. So he proactively reached out. So can you do two things for me? Can you go through how you found Mason, how you engaged him, and then and how these guys could use Mason, literally this guy Mason, or use companies like Mason?
Yeah. So before I met Mason, I was again on one of those online forums, and the one bank that kept coming up a lot for Toyota was US Bank, right? US Bank.
Stop. Okay. What he's saying is online forums. So people that didn't hear this before, he was in all the leasing groups. So let's take a step back. Because I don't know if everybody understood that. How many different leasing groups on Facebook and LinkedIn are you part of?
I'm probably in every single Toyota one that I know of. There's one for every single model: Tundra, Tacoma, Prius Prime. So you can get in every single one of them. They don't cost anything on Facebook, right? In regards to leasing, I'm in the largest leasing page on Google, right? Leasehacker.com. Leasehacker.com. Leasehacker.
Anybody here heard of leasehacker.com before? No. Okay, write that shit down. You know what I mean? Like that's a big, powerful nugget right there. Leasehacker.com is the number one largest lease, platform, on Google right there. So what he's saying is that he was part of all these Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, Google groups, and shit like that for leasing and the manufacturer. Like, Toyota Tundra, Toyota Tacoma, Toyota, whatever. And what he's saying is that there was conversation specifically that came up about leasing. Now pick up your story.
Yeah. So, big thing was at the time was for Toyota, they were talking about under leasing, right? With US Bank, the rates and residuals and everything were so crazy where these guys are getting $200 a month, $50,000 trucks, right? And so that was the start of it. It was getting my dealer to be okay with starting with US Bank. So we signed US Bank. And then Mason, who was also a part of the same online forum as me, he reached out to me and said, "Hey, let's get together. Let's create this program." And that's kind of where we started and where we've gone from there. Now we have for this region, I have two different banks that use Mason or Kila.
Okay, so wait a minute. So that answers your question? Okay, couple of things that I'm going to tell you is that a lot of times salespeople don't even get involved with bank reps and leasing reps, and sometimes even the F&I departments don't really treat these bankers and leasing companies and credit unions the right way. Mason was talking about that. How do you approach and what are the magic words to get somebody like that on your side?
I think it takes time building the relationship with them in general, right? Because at the end of the day, all dealers will say whatever at the beginning, right? I'm going to send you a bunch of business. I'm going to do whatever. And it's showing them that you're going to do it, right? And then along the way, hey, I need help with this. I need you to make an exception here. And they'll work with you, right? And then on their end, when things are slow, they'll call you direct and they'll ask you like, hey, what's going on? What are we missing? Right. So that they can adapt their programs to work with us because they want the business. We want the business. And the thing is with Mason is, he works for Kila. He doesn't actually work for the bank. He works for the company who sets the residuals on behalf of the banks. But, if I work with them, it then benefits my bank because I get the bank more business. So originally when we started out, we weren't super successful because we're in Orange County and the first bank we had was San Diego County only, right? So you're trying to market to an area that's 100 miles away from you. But now it's super successful down there. It's even more successful in Orange County. And we're trying to sign up another bank right now for Northern California so that we can take over some more Northern California business too.
So this is literally what happened. He approached this guy at the bank and was like, look, I could give you a lot of business, but what you need to do is you got to beat Toyota. Can you explain that and how you guys...
So, he always he uses, programs like MarketScan to try to see where Toyota and all the other banks are at so that they can be the most successful. Are they always going to be number one? No, but it takes them days to figure that out. But a lot of times I'll run it all manually the day everything comes out. So I'm sending him screenshots and I normally give him a hard time. Like, oh, well, you're losing, you suck on this car. You suck on this car. That's just because we know each other enough that he's like, okay, fine. Well, let me see, give me a couple days, yes, we'll increase the residuals to win because they want to win as long as it makes financial sense. But yeah, so we're always kind of pushing back.
So the trainer's point is this. really successful things are not going to just be out of the box. Like, let me just sign up with this magic bank and shit's there. Not only did the guy spend all this money building this website, he put time and sweat equity in and building his relationships with these bankers and these credit unions, these companies, and then helping to like go back and forth with the programs and trying to find things that are win-win fit. So again, there isn't instant gratification. This takes a little bit of time. It doesn't take years, but it's going to take you at least several weeks to be able to put this thing together. Now, Cody is signed to our platform. Like when we work with the other McGrath stores, like Mazda, Subaru, Hyundai, Genesis, they have Bradley and Amanda. There's a whole entire section that is just Cody Carter. And there's a section on the leasing where he breaks this down step by step, whether you're a salesperson in the dealership. Everything he's teaching right now is already on our platform. That's why we have him here today to show you, here's a sneak peek of what we bring to the table. But how hard would you say it is to replicate what you did with the banks? I don't think it's that hard with your guidance.
No, I don't think it's super hard. Like, honestly, the struggle for me a lot of times is getting the signatures, right, from the dealer, right? It's getting past legal, right? So once you get past, signing them on, they'll turn you on, no problem, and get you in there. And then it's building that relationship with whoever your buyer is, whoever your rep is. And that's going to be the biggest thing, because you'll get deals done that normally wouldn't get done, right? We always have that one finance guy that, let me call, right? And that's how it's become. Like, there's me and maybe 1.5 other people that use this program. But anytime there's an issue, it's, Cody will call and get it done. And that's because of the relationship.
We got a question here. State your name, sir.
Yes, Alex. So I've got a question regarding the compliance, actually. So
compliance.
Don't compliance. Let me go back what you said earlier. So when you started the leasing, Toyota is allowing you to do all of this with the other bank?
Yes.
So they don't like it. There's a certain amount of penetration that they want, right? So like Toyota wants to be at 80%, right? If you take me out of the equation, they're probably up there in the 80-90% of what they're sending to Toyota. But what I do is 95% non-Toyota. And, are they not happy about it? Sure. But, at the same time, we're moving the units and we're making the gross that the store wants, and it makes sense.
So bottom line is Toyota can't say anything about it. There's nothing that violates any type of ad covenant.
I don't know about Honda.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We never used
If you think about it too, with Honda, right, Sean knows the story. I went and talked to Norm Reeves and I helped them get signed up with the same program, right? So, and they're absolutely killing Honda. Yeah, they're absolutely killing Honda finance.
Real quick. So one of my clients is Norm Reeves Honda, which is one of the largest Honda dealerships in the country. And so I plugged them in and they were about to poach him from the Toyota, but that didn't happen. You stayed where you're at. And because it's my friend. But he set up like Norm Reeves Honda with the same program, and they're killing it. So if Norm Reeves Honda is doing what they're doing, your store could absolutely do the same thing and be compliant. Correct?
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Lewis, you had something to add?
Norm Reeves is one of the top 5 in the country.
Absolutely. We have the group on. So we have Ford, Lincoln, Honda. They're all clients of ours. So, but no, that's a great question, because I'm going to tell you right now, I watch this shit like he's being nice. You know what I mean? Because he still works at the dealership, but he's my client. The dealership's not, so I keep it real. They fucking abused the shit out of him because the haters came out of the woodwork. Dealers, salespeople, managers. It's like, Lewis, you remember what we talked about before the train here? How, like, can you imagine on your floor, some of the salespeople get pissed because they think that you're feeding somebody? Can you imagine you have a salesperson that's selling more cars than an entire dealership? Yo, they came out the claws out of the woodwork. So what's great about it is he's following every ad covenant, everything that's now is picture perfect. But you bring up a good point. They're not going to like it, but they're also don't have many salespeople that are selling. They're still their cars. You know what I mean? Toyota's still making a ton of money off of one salesperson. They might be losing on the finance or the lease revenue, but they're still getting all of those units that he's pushing. So that's why it's like they don't like it, but it's like, fuck it. You know what I mean? You're still pumping 114 new cars as one salesperson. There's not many human beings that could actually do that. That's like a whole other story. Make sense? But good question. Anything else?
No, it's good. No.
Let's keep it. I want to give other people a chance. It's not, no, there's a whole group here. So I want to hear from you, but I want to give other people an opportunity to speak to, Cody. Managers, salespeople, any other questions? Really, you know everything. Okay. Yeah. Your name?
Carlos.
Good.
I showed up late.
Okay.
But what's the
where is he going to get the best results for his to generate leads? I don't know if
you missed that, but it's okay. So the question, it's a good question. What do you feel is the highest return on your time and money? So basically, where do you get all your leads from?
Well, it's always repeat and referral is always going to be your best closing ratio, right, at the end of the day. But it takes time to build those people. So a lot of it's going to be those online communities, right? You got to get yourself out there. You got to become trusted over time, because everyone still has a stigma of salespeople that we're untrustworthy. But once you gain their trust, it's anytime somebody posts about a Toyota in this region, right, they're tagging me, right? I joined a new Facebook group just a couple weeks ago, and someone posted I'm in Southern California. Like, well, just talk to Cody. He's going to be straightforward. He's going to reply fast, and he's going to just give you the truth about how things are, right? Those tags are really important because it adds a layer of trust. And so once they go through the process for themselves for the first time and see what I say is true and how easy it is to do it, you earn that customer for pretty much forever. This makes it real hard for them to go somewhere else.
So as a trainer, nationally speaking, there's different closing ratios for different things. An internet prospect within 30 days is closing between 4 and 6%. That's it. Because of the direct orders, the inventory crisis and whatnot, it's crazy. You're looking at probably from the dealership's website about 12 to 14% closing ratio. Now, when you look at let's just say walk-in ups, non-appointments, non-prior customers, like true fresh lot ups or showroom ups, you're looking at about between 25 and 30%. Okay. However, a B-back or a referral is about a 50%. A prior customer or an orphan owner, because an orphan owner is a prior customer of the dealership, maybe not you as a salesperson, that's 65% closing ratio. An ADA says that a service customer is 7 times as likely to purchase a vehicle from when they service a car from. When you have a client that purchased and serviced at the dealership, the closing ratio is up to 80%. Now, as I mentioned before this interview with Cody, there's a couple other rock stars, maybe not as good as Cody or close, but then we've got people like Chrissy Burton, who sells 74, 76 cars on the showroom floor by herself in Indiana. You've got Frank Crinity, that's Honda, that sells 100 cars plus a month at Piazza Honda in Springfield, Pennsylvania. We've got Ali Retta, who broke the Guinness Book of World Records. That sold 202 cars in 1 month, 35 cars in 1 day, 1,582 cars in 1 year. Okay. Every one of those people I just mentioned, they don't take ups. They don't take fresh ups. They don't work, the service lane. They don't work data mining, equity mining. They don't take crumbs from the dealership. 100% of their business is repeat business and referrals. But what Cody said is very powerful. That takes a little time to build up. It's not realistic for you to just come into a dealership, even in a major metro like Chicago, and say, I'm going to sell 100 cars in 3 months. So what you have to do at first is live off the land. You have to live off of the magic up bus from walk-ins, from the lot, from internet, from phones, from orphan owners, from service, until you could start building up your book of business. But as you build up your book of business, you could start weaning yourself off of the lower closing, longer, effort activities and focus your business predominantly on repeat business and referrals. When you are able to not give a fuck about what the dealership does, he's his own dealership, man. He doesn't give a shit about what the dealership's marketing and advertising is. One of you guys critiqued in the last class about how, you don't think the dealership spends money the right way. You might be right, but who gives a shit? That's Kevin McGrath's problem. That's Lewis's problem and Michael's problem. You know what I mean? Like, if you have to, it's like having, I don't mean any disrespect about anybody. You guys know where I come from, right? From the project. So I mean this with love. But if you have to worry about who your president is, then I feel bad for you. I don't give a fuck who the president is, because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm in control of my own destiny. If I work at a dealership and I got to worry about what they're doing to generate traffic, I already lost. See, if I am in an environment where you could make as much money as you can earn, you know what I mean? That's the key. How can I come into the dealership, use McGrath's flag, use McGrath's resources, and make as much money as I can make? He can open his own dealership. If you ask him why not, he's like, fuck that. Why am I going to open I already sell more than the average dealership. I sell 25% more than the average dealership in the country. And I don't have to spend all that money. I don't have any of that liability. I don't have any of that stuff. Cody, true or false?
Well, it's that and the time alone, right? I'm like, my schedule's awesome at this point. So it's like, you'd work way more to make similar money. At this point, it makes sense to stay here.
Lewis, can I ask you a question in front of your team? If somebody could sell 50, 60, 70 cars and they have great CSI, do you give a shit what their schedule is?
No.
I've never met a GM or manager, like an executive manager, that ever said something different. If you could sell X amount of cars and you have good CSI, make your own schedule. If you can figure out how to sell 50, 60 cars and work 3 days a month, God bless America. It's not realistic, but they don't give a shit. Cody.
Yeah, they always laugh. They're like, if they find me here after 2:00, they're like, "Oh, what are you doing here? It's just really late for you." So I come and go as I please.
2:00. Is anybody else not like blown away by this shit? Like I'm like, God damn! Like I was working bell to bells when I was selling cars, and the most I ever sell was like 35 cars or something like that. That's it. This guy works to 2:00 every day, and that's it. And he makes $1 million a year selling cars in California.
2 a.m.
Huh? No. Yeah. That's probably right. You had another question, sir?
Yeah. Especially since you're into leasing, one of the biggest deterrents for leasing here is there's an additional 8% sales tax on the lease payment. It may not be like that in California, but that's one of the reasons why we have such problems with leasing here. What would be your suggestion to overcome an obstacle like that?
Well, it depends. Like, and I don't know that market quite as well, right? But so I do know Texas pretty well because I got friends that are out there. And a lot of the Texas charges sales tax on the entire car up front, right? Even you're only going to keep it 36 months. So in those regions, sometimes a lot of these banks will actually credit you in regards to tax credits. So that might be something that would help you get past that. That's one option. But overall, it's selling the option of financial freedom at the end, because right now we buried customers, right? These last 2 years, three years, we buried these customers, and you guys are going to hate it in a couple of years when they try to trade them. For us, it's guaranteeing that they have no negative equity at the end, right? Sometimes the payment's not cheaper. Sometimes it's the same, but just letting them know in 3 years, when whatever program is out to save all these people, you'll be in the best position possible to take advantage of it.
Let me tag in as a trainer. A couple of things. So what he's saying is that if you guys, just like there's EV credits, there might be actual credits for leasing depending on the state of Illinois. You should look into that. Say again?
They took it away.
Okay, they took it away. I had a question in New Jersey.
But I'm saying the bank itself, a lot of times has credits.
The bank, not the state. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. The bank might turn around and acknowledge that and kick that back. That's the first thing. Second thing, in New Jersey, I only lease my cars. And one of the reasons is, and this is like facts, you're only able to write off as a business. You're only able to write off, I think, about $12,000 to $15,000 of the vehicle. So, however, if I lease it, I can write off the entire lease. I'll give you an example. We had 2 back-to-back i8s that are $155,000 vehicles. I can't fucking write off a freaking Honda Civic, the full amount on the Civic as a finance, but I can write off my entire $1,600 a month car payment for a $155,000 car because it's a lease. So that is one of the best reasons to be able to lease as a business owner. I'm able to write off the entire car payment versus only a portion of it. Does that make sense? Okay, so there, brother, we could tag team this. Like, that's the whole thing, is that what you do in any type of situation is play chess. Begin with the end result in mind. And if you have, you seem like really professional and you know your shit, just play chess with yourself. And guys, eat before your pizza gets cold. Like, this is like a working through lunch. I mean, just take whatever food you need, whatever. I don't want you to wait and it gets cold. But for me, I would anticipate every fucking thing that somebody could complain about. I don't want to rent cars. You know what I mean? Like, I heard that like leasing is renting. Well, you finance? Great. Okay. Like, you're basically renting because you don't own that car until. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things, but all you got to do is write down every objection, every pushback, and then come up with a solution. If you're working with us, we have a whole library. If you're using Cody Carter's program, he's got all of that. We came up with, I don't know, like 20 something different responses to be able to sell the value of a lease. But at the end of the day, price is only relevant to the absence of value. You're not going to be able to sell the value of a lease unless you provide the value of a lease. Does that make sense? Okay. But I'll tell you one thing right now. Here's what I can promise you. If you believe that your clients or your market doesn't want leasing, you're right. I'm not going to convince you otherwise. If you feel that nobody in Chicago wants to lease, it's bullshit lease, you're right. And guess what? You're not going to lease. But if you're like, oh, shit, if this dude could do this, man, maybe I think that leasing is pretty fire over here. If you believe in leasing, you're going to get a lot more people to lease than if you did it. At the end of the day, you're right either way. Does that make sense? Another question. Yes, sir.
That's true, actually. We want to on the leasing.
Yes.
You live in Chicago. There's two different things. We have, I'm going to continue what he's saying, actually. We have the 8%. I mean, whatever you live in Chicago, you get 9.5. Plus, they use the tax, they use 8.75. If you're looking at 70, but 18% of tax in the leasing.
Okay.
So on
Is that 18%? Is that 18% on the payment, or?
Yeah.
Well, that's not that bad because California, we got 11% tax on a lot of these leases.
So and then we have the like the page and then the curve. We call that 7.25 and then 8.5. So those are the only three factors that you have.
Now,
3 different kinds.
and now here's what I'm going to say to you. This is 23 years automotive experience. Question for you guys. Kevin, you too. What are most people, price or payment shoppers? Payment. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, there might be some pushback on this and that, but I know that. See, I'm empowered by that fact, that mathematical statistical fact, that it doesn't fucking matter about this. At the end of the day, if I could get you into the payment that is right for you, do you give a shit how I get there? Most of the time, now I would never talk to a customer like that, but I'm saying amongst friends here, but that's the reality. If I could show you how to get to a vehicle that you never thought you could afford, you get more vehicle for less payment, and you're not buried in 3 years when you come out of it. I mean, come on, man. We're putting people to sleep with 84-month finances. It's ridiculous. Right or wrong?
Right.
That's my mentality going into it. Guys, let's go through. We have about like 5 or 10 more minutes for Cody. So, and we have an unprecedented, opportunity to ask him questions. Kevin Curtis, what questions you got for him? You got some good questions?
I got good questions?
Yes, come on.
I wasn't in here. I don't know what questions he already answered.
Well, as a GM, give me some GM questions.
GM questions? I don't know. Did he already explain his system of how he actually does the numbers he does?
Yeah.
I think that would be the most relevant thing in this group.
I got a question for you.
Sure.
Okay, because you're a client of ours on the Hyundai Genesis side. Why do you think that you sit with a bunch of salespeople that are selling 10, 15 cars or what have you, maybe 16 cars, and you have access to someone like Cody Carter on the Brother Man platform that sold 114 and delivered 114 cars this month?
You want the disconnect there?
So, yeah. So why aren't all the salespeople run into this guy's platform and learning all the secrets and shit like that?
Well, these are Honda people, so
I know.
They're just getting access, but they should be.
But why do you think people don't in our industry? Why do people see? Because
making
I set them up.
6 figures selling 8 cars.
There's a difference between good to great. And so what we're saying here is that the whole concept is that there's a lot of good things out there. You know what I mean? If you're selling 15 cars and making 20 grand, I mean, that shit is good. And sometimes you get complacent with good where you don't push yourself to go, to go to that next level. One thing that know that, Cody, jump in there, because the
next thing you got to know about that too is like a lot of these people are comfortable right now, right? If you're newer, what's coming in the next year is going to be drastically different, right? You're not going to make the money that you thought you're going to make forever. My brother's newer; he's been in the business 2 years, and I keep telling him, this is the easy time. If you're complaining now during the easy times, you have no idea what's coming.
I want to concur with that because my daughter, who I love to death, she was on the floor at a Kia dealership. She made $25,000 in 1 month selling Kias. That's insane. But that shit's not realistic. The people that have sold cars only for the last 2 years or less don't know what the real automotive industry is like. Good times cause bad habits. Do you understand me? When the times are good, bad habits form. When the shit starts hitting the fan, and we just already started seeing like there's discounts and rebates on cars now. When was the last time we seen a fucking rebate? That's crazy. What do you think is going to happen in the next 12 to 18 months? We're going to actually have to prospect and actually have to sell. And when you go from $8,000 grosses to $800 grosses, which I hope that never happens, but I used to sell Grand Marquis. You guys know what a Grand Marquis is? A Mercury? We used to have to go triple net. You probably don't even know what triple net means because you haven't heard of that in a while. But that means the actual net cost of the vehicle, we would have to sometimes sell to push. A lot of manufacturers, Hyundai being one of them, used to have
selling Hondas.
There you go.
We did 200 under
200 under triple because
we were 1,500. Right? We were 1,500 under during pre-pandemic.
Yeah. How do you go from 1,500 under triple net to having 8Gs over sticker? You know what I mean? It's just insane. So what he's saying, guys, is look, the times might be good now, but there's always more opportunity. Now, Cody, question for you. You're obviously a multimillionaire. I mean, you make $1 million a year. When you make that much money, can you just talk a little bit? How do you invest your money? Real estate, cars, shit like that. How do you make more money?
Oh, well, right. I make more money buying more cars, right? And then right now with inventory being the way it is, we buy cars on the side, right? So right before this meeting, I was rushing over to the service department. I was like, hey, I need you to smog my Hellcat that just came in because California needs smog, right? And they're like, well, how many cars do you own? I'm like, oh, well, I only own 4, right? But I get a new car every month, right? It's because you can profit on, what the current economy is, right? And we are always shifting, right? What's going to be the next thing, right? But there's always something when you.
What was the TRX? You told me how much money did you make on the TRX?
Well, I had 3 of them.
How much you make on them average?
15 to 18 grand each, so it's.
He's flipping cars for fun. He's buying cars across the country from one of my other clients from Coons. He bought a truck from Coons and waited however many months, 6 months or whatever it was, had the vehicle shipped to California and then fucking crushed it and sold it on his own. I mean, again, money solves a lot of problems. You understand me? I've been broken, I've been rich, and I choose rich all day long. I mean, I didn't say money makes you happier, but money solves a lot of problems. If you've got excess cash, you could have an opportunity to invest in real estate. I'm telling you, 90% of all millionaires invest in real estate, whether they're duplexes, they're quads, they're triplexes, etc., having passive income that appreciates. That's how Grant Cardone has $5.5 billion of assets under management. Cody, you have any real estate?
I have some. Yeah, I have a couple. So.
We have a question from the group.
Oh, good. We have a question from the group. Go ahead.
It's just, what do you do when desk managers avoid leases like the plague?
So, what do you do if desk managers avoid leases like the plague?
So we're lucky in this market, right? But previously, when I was in Arizona, that there was some guys like that, right? That they just don't do it, and it's sad because the reason they're not doing it is because they don't understand it, right? And so you got to push back. My customer really would like to see that lease option. That lease option may make sense to them, right? We need to get to a certain payment without giving the car away, right? So those are some of the things, you got to push back, and after being right a couple of times, they're going to hopefully start to listen to you, right? It's the same scenario when you're like, hey, I had one time, let's give the guy $1,000 for his trade, even though it's worth 10 grand. No, you're going to piss them off. We gave him $2 grand. They were like, oh my gosh, we paid. We should have held the gross, right? It's the same scenario, right? When it comes to leasing, we need to present it. You got to tell the desk managers, let's present it. You don't know. It doesn't hurt to show it. Does it take you an extra minute or two? Maybe. Some of these systems are automatic now. You don't even you click a button and it's done. So I guess it's constantly pushing back. I push back with the managers even today.
Cody, I want you to just go back. I want to digress for a second. Talking to Ali Reda, the guy that broke the Guinness Book of World Records, and Cody, I'm going with this. I asked him, how do you go from being and I think 60 cars is not normal. That's double what I ever did. You know what I mean? But how do you go from selling 50, 60 cars to 154 cars? And Ali said, belief. Grant Cardone, when I interviewed him on my radio show, and I said, we've been partners with Grant for about 4 years, legitimate partners. He licenses my content to his 1,000 rooftops. Grant said on air on my program, his biggest regret is that he didn't think bigger sooner. Now, before I let Cody tackle what that means to him, guys, when I sold cars, I worked at a Lincoln Mercury Mazda dealership, and I averaged about 33 units. I never thought in a million years that I could sell 50, 60 cars. There's no fucking way I even fathomed I could sell 100 cars. That's why I didn't sell that much. But when I heard of people like Ali Reda, Cody Carter, Frank Criniti, and shit like that, and hearing Grant Cardone saying, I wish I thought bigger sooner, it made sense. Cody, can you explain that for you? First of all, how long did it take you to go from zero to hero? When you moved to California, how long did it take you to go from 0 cars to 100+ cars?
It took me probably 2.5 years, right? I've been here almost 6 years now. So, but yeah, it was
right. I've been in a car industry 23 years and I never sold more than 35 cars. 2.5 years.
I've been with Toyota 11 years now.
Jesus Christ. Now, what would you say about what I'm saying to you about how mindset is so important? Actually believing you could do that shit is like half the battle.
Oh, definitely. And it's funny because my wife will always tell you, it doesn't matter what you do because you're never going to be happy, right? For me, it's I sold 154 cars and all you thought about is the cars that you missed, right? Well, if we did this, we could have done more, right?
Tell them why you sold 154 cars. Who fucking got you?
Well, I think I came off 120 the month before, and Sean asked me, well, what's the goal? And I was like, 120, right? That's the goal. And he's like, well, what are you talking about? We've already been there. We've already done 120. We got to move past it. And sometimes you get stuck in your mind, right? The 120 felt good, right? But 120 now 154, it feels better. But again, it was the thought is you could have done better. There's always a deal that's missed.
So wait a minute, before we go, so Juan, that's like for you said that you sold 4 cars in one day and you sold 27 cars in 1 month. But when I asked you what's your projection for December, it was 10 cars. I said, you defeated yourself even before the month started because you're capable. You've already done 27 in a month. You've done 4 in a day, 4 times 21 employee working days. Again, boom, you could sell a hell of a lot more, 84 cars, whatever it is. So mindset is really key. A lot of us kill ourselves. Like if you go into January, if you go into next month in a couple of days and you say, you know what, I'm going to sell 15 cars. I promise you're never going to accidentally sell 40 cars. If you predict 15, you're not going to go, oh shit, whoops, I just landed on 40 cars. So it's better to shoot for the stars and land on the moon. And not to say I'm going to sell 50 cars and you have no plan. The key is you have to be able to reverse engineer to get into it. So somebody had a question? Yes, sir.
What were the first steps he took to go from 0?
So the question is, what were the exact first steps? Because he moved from Arizona. So let's go from, so he moved from Arizona to California. You never sold cars. What was your first steps to go from 0 to, selling a shit ton of cars?
So, if you start at the very beginning, right, they just said, here's your desk. You've worked for Toyota before, figure it out, right? So that was kind of how it started. And it was, just learning the CRM because I had no idea what the CRM was. We use eLead. And the way that our system worked is during the day, 9 to 9, the leads rotate, right? That's cool. Everyone gets their equal share of leads, but from 9 p.m. till 9 in the morning, those leads are all free for all, right? So it's staying up till, midnight, 1 a.m., waking up at 6 a.m. to take every single lead that you could possibly grab, to work every single lead, right? And I was known with BDC that they, you don't really have to follow up with Cody's leads because he's following up with every single one, right? I had to be at the top. I'm grabbing every lead to have every opportunity, and then that allows you to earn the business of people. Then you start hearing about these, potential other avenues, right? When I joined Lease Hacker, I remember when the first customer came in one day, he's like, "Oh, I saw you online." I was like, that was like mind blowing, right? I saw you online, and I'm here to buy a car, and from there, I made my first post. It was actually on my birthday a few years ago. And I made a post saying, hey, I work for Toyota, SoCal, and here's what I can offer you, right? And from there, I think I have 400,000 views on that post alone now, 5,000, 6,000 comments. So it takes time to build up, right? But at first, it was the time, right? I worked night and day for years, like 2.5 years before I was up into the numbers that I was in. And it always helps somebody to chase, right? So the guy I chased for a long time was Andy, right? No matter how hard I worked, he would beat me by 5-6 cars. It didn't make any sense, but he always beat me, and that was the chase, right? For me now, it's just the chase to be the better version of myself. For you guys, you can chase me. I'd love the competition. I already told you guys I'll take the sign down when you guys beat me, but so.
That's gangster right there. That sign's not coming down anytime soon.
No.
Right. Challenge.
So now, how important is it though with your customer service? One of the things that I'm going to share with you, talking to Ali Redden, talking to people like Cody, is that they try to control the environment. So what I mean by that is that they are the concierge or the go-to person for anything automotive. Because think about it, how you could unwind a relationship because the fucking parts, get misplaced, or because there was a bad experience with a service or a technician or something like that. So they try to control everything. How do you handle customer service, client loyalty, and creating that relationship and keeping it awesome?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like when it comes to that part, like I know, like Ollie has talked about, like he's got a towing guy, right? We have guys like that too. We know people. I got the window tint guys. I got friends like that. A lot of my customers are out of area, so I don't see a ton of them in my service drive. But when I do, I tell them, like, listen, this is my guy. Like, go see him. If you ever have problems, don't go complain over there. Just come talk to me, because when I say something, it's going to happen, right? And so it's a lot easier to control that. When it comes to, how I handle customers, and for some people, it takes them a little bit to get used to, is we do everything in text, right? No phone calls, everything's in text. One, because I'm dealing with so many people at one time, the phone calls become inefficient, but I also can know what I said to everyone, right? Because my biggest thing is whatever I tell you is what I'm going to do. Sometimes, if I screw up on the price and it hurts, it hurts, but I said what I said, I'm going to do it, right? But it's always creates this like no version of what I thought you said this, but this is what I said. And so that helps a lot of times with transparency. But yeah, the customers know, like, you can text me till basically midnight, and you're going to get a reply within just a couple of minutes, right? I know I leave at 2:00, but I still have access and I'm still available. Basically from 6 a.m. till midnight, you can text me.
Cody, what would you say your total amount of units are going to close for this year approximately?
So we're down this year, right? Because Toyota had a really hard year for inventory, but it'll be right about 1,000. It'll be about 1,000 cars. So
1,000, obviously divide that by 12. You're averaging about 83 units per month, given. And the most that you've ever sold was 154 in March, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So the last year I did just shy of 1,300 cars. We were hoping to do better this year, but the inventory didn't allow for it. It was still a great year. The gross was astronomical, right? When you're running front ends that are 6,000, 7,000 on average, it's good.
All right, guys, any last couple questions? Again, we have a very special guest that's trying to give you as much game as he can. Louis, what about you? This is your store.
I just appreciate you coming in and helping the team.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's great to chat.
Well, first of what we're doing, and a whole different idea, different dynamic going forward.
Now, I will say this, I appreciate that, brother, is that even though Cody is as good as he is, he still works with us. He uses our money mind map, the shit that I showed you before. He's like Michael Jordan and I'm like Nike. You know what I'm saying? Like he rocks the sneakers. You know what I mean? Like, but he's a beast. So here's the thing, though, is that it doesn't matter how good you are. It's okay to have a coach. It doesn't make you weak or a punk or what have you. Michael Jordan, I actually got to meet Tim Grover. Have you ever heard of that name, Tim Grover? He's a big motivational speaker and what have you. Even when Michael Jordan was in his heyday, you obviously have the coach from the basketball team, but he's got financial coaches. He's got, personal development coaches. It's okay to have multiple types of trainers and coaches as well. You know what I mean? Again, think of mixed martial arts, like the UFC. You've got a grappling coach, you've got a striking coach, you've got a conditioning coach. It's okay. If you want to get to a professional level, you need to develop yourself wherever you're weak at. You don't want to be like the person that's good on the floor, but you're weak on phones or text messaging or internet sales, or you're weak on social media, or you're weak on video. That's like going to the gym and only working out your arms and you fucking got Gumby legs and you could fall over in the wind. Chicago wind, right? You want to be a holistic approach to success. How important is it for you to train, practice, drill, and rehearse for you and Hannah?
Oh, it's super important. Again, I always talk about process, right? If your process isn't improving, you're just going to stay where you're at. So for us, it's always changing. We're always trying to train ourselves and figure out what makes more sense so that you get to that next level.
And I'm going to show you guys one thing, and we're going to wrap this up right here. We're running about like 10 minutes late. So if we go in to Bradley On Demand, I just want you guys to see this. We have the largest training platform in the entire world in any country for automotive. That's why Cardone works with us. So I have about 8,400 training modules that are in here. So that's 8,400 training modules. I have about $7.5 million cash wrapped up into this. And on top of all my training from sales, internet, BDC, I have all of Ali Retta's training content. I have all of, Frank Carnitti's training content. And what we did right here is with Cody, I want you to see this. We have a special section of Millionaire Car Salesman. He's got his own platform called Sell Like Cody. I literally flew to his dealership in California, and we used his dealership like a Hollywood studio. And we have, for example, the entire road to the sale. This is all Cody Carter's content on here. So this is what I was saying to Kevin Curtis before, is that, all the McGrath stores that are working with us, they have not only my dealer synergy content, they have everything. You're talking about leasing. You guys asked about leasing. Look at this. Cody taught an entire course on automotive leasing and from the banks, the objections to the rebuttals to all that shit. So it's think like Cody, act like Cody, brand like Cody, sell like Cody, lease like Cody. So the reason why I'm showing this to you is that I believe that Lewis and the Honda store, we're going to probably be doing what we're doing with the other stores with Subaru, Hyundai, Genesis, and now Mazda. We're going to probably do with Honda. And I want to just get you guys excited. It's not just me or dealer synergy. We got someone at the level of Cody Carter who's not a trainer. He's fucking selling cars today. He stopped just out of love for me and you to stop his. He probably would have had 120 cars if it wasn't for us right now. You know what I mean? That was a joke. So again, I want to just thank, and if you guys give Cody a round of applause.
That's good.
all realism. You know what I'm saying? Like, just, I love this industry. You know what I'm saying? And as a fan of the automotive industry, it's like being a fan of basketball and being able to watch Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant play. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, watching an automotive professional that's a fucking multimillionaire just by selling cars blows my mind. I wish I had access to somebody like that when I was selling cars. But everybody in this room now has access to them two ways. Even if we didn't move forward, you guys are all should be connected to the Millionaire Car Salesman group. This entire Zoom has been live streamed in front of 25,000 people in the Millionaire Car Salesman group. In the next week, it's going to go on to the podcast, which is going to go out to a lot more people. So you have access to Cody. He's part of the Millionaire Car Salesman group. Just find his name in the search bar. And Cody, does my team and my client, they have the ability to reach out to you, ask you some questions?
Yeah, people message me all the time on Facebook. So people text me, whatever, I'll help you out.
So he's not bougie like Tom Cruise. You know what I'm saying? He's a car guy. You know what I mean? He's here to be able to help out because, again, when you get to that level, I mean, like, shit. I mean, like, why not help somebody else out? You know what I mean? Help because you can. So again, Cody, I'm going to let you go back to selling cars like Cody, brother. I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Nice talking to you guys.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
So there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.